Hi, it's Nancy, welcoming you to Garden Scroll. Look, my little tall marigold bloomed. It's one of the mission giants. I told you how putting a watermelon rind, you get to eat the melon, but even if you put just the rind out there, I've shown you that it will bring butterflies to your garden. But I'm going to tell you another thing today. So besides butterflies, this is the other thing that I use a watermelon rind for. I read that you could buy a can of beer and put it out here, which I did not want to do. I just didn't do it. But I put this out here for the butterflies, and look, it captured all these snails. So there is your second reason you might want to put a watermelon rind in your garden. I let this one set yesterday and last night, so don't be surprised if it might take a little bit for them to find it, but they find it. My little seedlings that I showed you earlier, the ones that did sprout, these are Torrenia, and they're growing up a bit. I did, however, notice that my little hens and chicks, while they still, for the most part, look good, this one is not doing well at all. There is still a little bit there, but it's not doing well. I just don't really know why. These are so hard for me. And we had a rainstorm last night, which is wonderful here in August. And so that this one was tippled over. I just picked it up. I picked 3 other pots up, or actually 2 other, and this one that were laid over. You can tell it kind of laid it over a bit, but not too much. And this is the chocolate covered cherry coleus, so it's a favorite. It's bright and beautiful, and I think it'll come right out of that and reach toward the sun and straighten itself out. And last night, while we were watching TV and listening to the rain, after I came out and watered the front, and I started on the back, but it did start raining enough that I could quit. And we did actually get a ½ inch, so that is wonderful. And also, it will give us a chance to take a break and maybe do something nice together, even if it's just sitting and watching some of our favorite movies or something like that. I'm not sure what we'll do yet, but we want to make a special day of it because it was given to us to be one, I'm sure, now that we have a little bit of time. How precious time really is. But these are my zinnias, of course. These are where I got my zinnia seeds from, and they do not look like they're going to shape up and become great beauties, but they still may. They really could. I'm not kidding you. We'll see what will happen. They could just sit there and die too, of course. See, my neighbor had some limbs to come off her maple tree also. But we didn't have any drastic damage, and we should be able to go well and also be rejoicing that we got some rain. Look, the white chocolate snakeroot plant is starting its little white tufts of bloom. course, watermelon is not the only rotting fruit that the butterflies love. Also, the wind laid my little Mexican sunflower down, so I put a stake there and tied it to it, and I'm hoping that will keep it, because I just love these. I just love that bright splash of orange. I'm hoping they do not become invasive, though, by dropping too many seed, like I believe sunflowers do. I hate anything that I have to just keep pulling up for years afterward, but they are beautiful. Look, this is the little solidago that I clipped back because I thought it was all dead, but it's not. It's coming back from the root. The garden knows that fall is upon us. It's already beginning to renew itself, and we had these little 3 days of cooler weather, and it's supposed to get hot tomorrow. Today's not a bad day either, but it's a little hotter than it was yesterday. But it's nice, and it's just so nice to see the plants know before we do, and they're getting ready, which probably is a good example that we should too. And I'm very thankful that I did get out here and get some of this done before the weather gets all hot again, and even before it gets all cool and wonderful, because when it does, I don't want to spend my whole entire time cleaning, and I've done that many times, but I'm hopefully going to get to enjoy it some, although a bunch of this will be done over again by then. Look, the little diamond frost euphorbia is beginning to shine in the garden. I always think it looks like little Christmas lights for the garden. I think I told you, and if not, I'll tell you now, that I did have to replace. I had a big one of the marigolds with the big yellow or orange, and I think these were yellow, but a snail got it. So I'm trying again. These are the Mission Giants, like the one I showed you earlier on this post, and I think they still have time. I'm not sure. But once the weather gets even just a little bit cooler, the plants will definitely take notice and start responding. Little foxglove is still looking good. It's coming along. Oh, this little coleus has responded to the rain. It's looking great this morning. Look at this lovely Kong. This may be my very favorite of the Kong coleuses. But I do love this one too. And I did find another little hanger for my pot. So there, now she's back up on her little shepherd's hook. And I think this is where she belongs. God giving us rain has freed me up from watering today, and it feels like I have a free day. I'm so excited about that, of course. But you know what I want to do with my free day? I want to clean out my shed, which will take minimum of a week, I imagine. And I want to watch movies, as I've already told you, just relax and watch movies. And that's probably what we actually need to do. Sometimes you just have to take a break. And of course, I want to do more than I can get done. I would need like maybe 3 free weeks. But winter is coming, and maybe I'll have those few weeks. And they will be few because it'll be time to start the garden over again in the spring. We usually start in February cleaning out the garden, and it takes so long to clean all this out. If you can just imagine everything out here having to be clipped back, and the old dead part that is clipped back taken to a landfill, or in our case we take it to the ravine at our church most of the time because they've given us permission to do that. So that's what we do. But it's just, life just stays so busy. I used to think when I retired life would slow down, but it doesn't slow down for me. I just still want to do more than I can get done. And I've been feeling bad. I asked my husband a couple of weeks ago, will I ever feel good again? And he said yes, which I knew he would, because of course he's going to say the nice thing, but I wondered if it would also be the true thing. And when I went to see my doctor, I did find out a few things that I'm going to have to take some different medications for, and some new medications for. So not necessarily good, but if that'll help, it will be good. And I am feeling somewhat better. Sometimes I don't know. I always want to feel better. I always try, and when I find something that I think maybe will help me, I think I've told you before, if I see a vitamin that says it gives you energy, I'm taking that vitamin because I need some energy. But sometimes I just want it to be so bad that I just imagine that's the way it's going to be, and that's the way it is. But I was imagining that's the way it was, and it wasn't. It just wasn't. I was not having any luck with it at all. So I wanted it to be so bad, and that may be exactly what I'm doing now. I may feel better because now I have hope that I'm going to feel better. But, you know, there still is that hope. Maybe it will work this time. We'll see. You know, hope is a wonderful thing. I was wondering just recently if I had anything coming up in this pot. I tried 2 different times to put seeds in here, and I do have one, but it's kind of over to this side. But that might be a great thing because I like the little garden art to show too. So if that fills out, it may fill that pot up still. And I actually do have something coming up here, but I'm thinking this possibly could be, this one could be a weed. I'm not sure, so I'm going to put it back in there a little better. It was kind of out. And this one I think may be a seedling tree, but I'm not ready to make that, to decide for sure that's what it is until I see it a little bit in a later stage of life and see if I can figure out what it is. So as I told you, I did get my little seeds pulled off and ready to use next spring, so that's great. And now I'm looking to and seeing that I have lots of little ones that need to come off here, but I marked the other as single and double, so these are all double, and I think I will put these in a little either envelope or paper bag and mark it as the double, because aren't these just beautiful? These are the ones I had in this pot last year, and they came back from the seed of those being there. But I think this one is going to shine for me this year too. And while my little strawberry pot is filling up, I think I'm still going to need to put a few pansies in here and let it be even more fuller and hopefully more beautiful. I love this verbena, and I believe this is the perennial verbena. That would be great if that was just all over this and blooming like that. So pretty. But it's also would be beautiful if we just had little pieces of it here and there to highlight it all the way around. And as I'm looking, I'm seeing that I also have a tree growing up right here. So now I don't. And I have taken down several of these as I walk around, but there's many more to do, and I'm kind of waiting on those until the weather is cooler. I'm sweating right now. It's just dripping down my face, so that's not the best time to be out in the garden, but it's overcast and the colors are popping this morning. Look at this beautiful ebb tide rose showing off its colors in the shade of the clouds. And another thing I would like to do with my time is to clip off some of these that are growing maybe even a little bit too tall to be pretty in their pot, and starting them in other places. But I really believe it may be a little too early for that, and they would just wilt and die. So I'm going to wait on that. There's certainly plenty other things I would like to do, but I'm anxious to clip them back and get them started in other places. I see a rose down here I'm going to go get closer to, and I'm hoping that I'm getting this in focus for you because it's so pretty. It's so pale and just beautiful. Sometimes my husband and I come out here and pull these up together. It's kind of fun. We visit, and he's always being funny. Sometimes that's really great, and then other times it's like, not now, not right now, I'm busy, let it go, stop being goofy. You know, I always joke and say sometimes I have to slap him to get him to be serious. Look at this beautiful black and blue salvia. It's showing off its colors in the overcast of the skies too. Look at this, she came down, or he, I think it's a she, came down for the black and blue salvia. Oh, there she goes. And I might better go ahead and clip this off, this one right here. Don't want that going to seed after I learned it's also called an obnoxious weed, but it is also called a lemon fluff. And if you saw this weed while I was clipping out that little obnoxious weed called lemon fluff, I'll just let you know that I saw it too and got it out of there. I did make a little purchase yesterday for this. I said maybe some purple, and I found these two little purple vinca. I have some of those in the front, but I thought they might just show up in this little pot. I know they have to renew themselves and re-energize, but I think maybe they can, and hopefully they will. Do you remember when I bought this little, no I didn't, I got this little begonia. It was out of its pot, just laying there on a sale rack, and I told the lady what happened. She said, well, you can just have it. So I have this, and I thought it would probably die, but it's beginning to shine. It's still very small, but it's getting bigger, and it has a pretty little pink bloom on it today. There, and I'm thinking that because they are succulents and they have that little stem that holds water, it may be okay to just go ahead and do these, which I did of course, and do these even in the hot August heat right after a rain, of course. So they'll have a little chance, and I think they'll make it here and fill that out and be pretty. I trimmed this little Bouncing Betty back too, so it may renew itself for fall. We got more rain, a little bit more rain, and that frees me up to do some things. I'm hoping to get some of the old dead things clipped back today. But look what else I noticed. See this strawberry pot that I've been waiting for something to bloom in? This little bloom is in my strawberry pot. I noticed that this morning while we were having our coffee on the porch. So that's a wonderful little surprise. Soon, hopefully, they'll all burst forth with bloom all around it, and I'm hoping it will make a really pretty showing. I don't know if it'll ever get like this one in the back, and I had no idea that this one would get this pretty, but that's just the thing, you know. That's one reason I hate to put away little pots. This is not actually a small pot, but it is just a medium to small sized pot. Let me get around there where you can see which one I'm actually talking about. This little pot right here, and it just made such a pretty little showing in this pot. I love it. So I'm going to kind of miss having little pots sitting around everywhere. You just don't know what they might do, and sometimes they just look pretty special, even though usually my seeds don't come on until like now it's August. But just look at this little blue pot with these little purple gomphrena or globe flower in it, and it's pretty. This one may get pretty. It's been scraggly all along, but it's beginning to fill out a bit, and a bright orange, red orange zinnia in it. All these little pots are kind of coming into their own where they will shine for a little while, and I will kind of miss that, but I'm ready to let it go. I am ready to let some of it go, but I plan on getting bigger pots and putting all this kind of stuff in them where they'll have a better chance, and I'll have a better chance through the summer months. Look at this gorgeous coleus. Isn't that just so pretty? They're loving the cooler weather too. I wish the hot didn't have to come back, but I think we only had maybe just today, but I was thinking we had a couple of days of the cooler weather. Like we're 80 degrees is going to be the high for the day in August. So that's just great. That's wonderful. Here's some more of the little pots. This one just full of gomphrena, looking good. And this little zinnia here is actually in this little pot that's my little 3-tiered pot, where I'm trying to get pink and yellow just a pretty pink and yellow display is my thoughts on this one. We'll see how it turns out. It's beginning. It will show us before too long now what it can do. But right in here is some of the stuff I would like to clean out a little bit. Is the zinnias are, a bunch of them are fading away. The cosmos is looking pretty ratty, and it's kind of covering up my little pots. So I think I just really need to just kind of clip it back a bit, give it a haircut. And I don't know if you can see, but hopefully you will be able to. This is this little kind of frilly looking thing here is my blue flax. So I'm hoping, I was thinking, well, I guess I didn't get any, but there are a few scraggly ones, but they're just coming on. So I planted seed, and if they will put down their root, these are actually perennial, and so hopefully they will come back. No, my little coleus, my little chocolate covered cherry coleus is still trying to, well, it did tip over, but I'm hoping it didn't kill it, so we're going to pick it back up and go again. So there, it's up again. And then a use for little small pots. Here is another one, because I'm going to take one of those small pots and put it right in here in this little gap where there is nothing. So maybe it will fill this up, and the next time we have a little wind, a little stronger wind than we normally do, hopefully it will keep it from falling over and look good while it's doing it. My little Esperanza seedling has leaped up there to double its size, and even though the snail's got one of my little snapdragons, right now at least, this one is still alive, and as the weather gets cooler, it will enjoy that and put on a little showing for us, hopefully with some pretty bloom. I love this little doll. Doesn't she just look like a former beauty? She still hasn't lost her classiness. Maybe at first glance, but there's something alluring about her that will draw you in. While we're looking at little pots, this is another reason to have a little pot. Remember, I told you that I started, let me go over here and get this copper plant, but I started this copper plant that's really taken off and going right at the moment. But I love these coppery muted colors, a little more than the greens, but still it's healthy and looking good. And I had tried to start one over here, and I had determined that it had died, so I put some more things in here. But look, there it is. It came back from the little root that it built. It did build a root. I thought it did, and those snails ate it down to its root, but for some reason it didn't kill it. Usually they take the whole thing out. When the green is gone, everything is gone, but this time it did not. So that's exciting, even though it probably won't live. You know, these are not hardy to live through the winter. Even if I bring it in, they don't usually, unless they are started early in the season and their root is established. But that is exciting. And this is another little bit of exciting thing to me. I clipped these off because, well, there's another one right over here. You can tell better. You can tell where all this has been clipped off. It was just dead, and I figured they were gone. But look, it's just totally renewing itself and coming back up. And they may even be big enough to look pretty again this fall. So that's great. Also, having some of these little pots ready, even though they don't look like much until the fall when they're filled out, or till late summer, that having them ready can fill up a hole where something else has died, and that works great too. So there will be a reason to keep some of these little pots around, but for the most part they're going to be put up and brought out as needed. We'll see if I get them all back out here before the season's over next year, or if it really does make a difference and I don't need them so much as I think I do sometimes. But we will see how that goes. I wanted to show you that right up this little trellis, if you can see, is a little vine. This is a cardinal climber that's climbing up this trellis. 3 little rains that equaled just a little over an inch, which also equaled 3 little days I got to do something besides water. And I know God has watered for me many more times than I've watered this season, and I'm still dreading it. It's the heat mostly, but then anything you do just over and over every single day with no days off can get old quickly, as you probably know from experience. Even this little pot that was fading and looking so badly is looking better this morning. We are thanking God for the refreshing, and this little tiered pot is beginning to fill out a bit. And look at this. Last year this was filled up with a hummingbird mint in orange, and this year I looked to see it's supposed to be perennial, but it did not come back, and I thought, well, maybe it will come back from seed, but then I determined no, it's not going to come back from seed. So I filled it pretty much full of other things. And then I saw something here that I started to pull out because I thought this is probably a weed. And then I thought, but what if? And I left it. Oh, I'm so glad I left it. I think this might even be the yellow one. I had some seeds from the yellow one, but it didn't even make it last year. But it looks like it's yellow. But yellow or orange hummingbird mint, I'll take either one. And it's just such a pleasant surprise. You know that little saying that, what does it say about suicide being a permanent thing, when if you would wait, you just don't know what the day will hold. The Bible says, thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. And so it's so great to hold out for things. I know this is a tiny little example of that, but it's so true that good things are, that they may just be waiting for us, and let's hold on and wait for them. I think what it says maybe is that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I have got to go find out if it's going to stay nice for more than one day, and if it is, I'm going to cut some of these back and get them started down here where it's bare, and hopefully they'll build a little root and fill out instead of just growing up tall and scraggly. It's still pretty, but it could be a lot prettier, I think. And if if I'm given the pretty weather to do it, I've got to get busy and get something done that I can be proud of. I think I'll go tell my husband that if he wants to come outside for a while, I have something he could do, which is to pull up the daylily stalks that are ready to be pulled up and gotten out of the garden. There's so much to do out here, but you know what, I don't want to miss getting to relax in this weather either, totally. But I do hope to get something done also. This little plant here is called ironweed. It has a pretty purple bloom at some point, and they're putting on buds now, and I will probably leave this here for this year, but I'm hoping that I will take this out and put it toward the back so that there's a little pot there that I would prefer you be able to see, and this is just going right up in front of it, and I just need to rearrange the furniture a little bit. Look what showed up in this little pot. A beautiful coleus. I think that from a seed from last year maybe. I don't think I even found any of this color this year, and this is one of my favorites. This is deal that this little caterpillar is on, so we'll have probably another butterfly. So if you want to, once I read that if you want butterflies in your garden, plant the blooms that have the nectar they love. And then it also said if you want them to stay in your garden, the other way is just if they visit, but if you want them to stay, plant their host plant. And dill is one of them, parsley is another, and I'm not really thinking of some right now, but there are several that they love. And of course the butterfly weed is another. This is the host plant for the monarch butterfly. And of course it's going to seed right now. Look at this mixture of dark and light purple of the gomphrena or globe flower. So we barely got started and we cleaned up all of this. It's amazing how you think, well, it needs some cleaning, but it doesn't need a whole lot, and then you get out there into it and you realize, oh, it needs a whole lot. I did take the time to save a few zinnias along the way. And you may not see a whole lot of difference, but I think this looks better. You can kind of see the little pots now. And I clipped back some of the alyssum that had gone to seed, and so hopefully these will bloom again. And I just think it looks better. Plus also I trimmed down some of the salvia. I did leave a few because I have a little hummingbird that visits this, I think, every single day. I miss it most of the time, but occasionally I get a picture, and it's always fun to watch them even if I don't get a picture. And the reason I clipped it down, of course, is so it would bloom again. And I clipped a little back here so you can see this little garden piece that you haven't seen much of since she's been covered up all summer. And I also clipped a little bit away from these so you can see them. And it just looks neater all the way around. I clipped a little away from the path again. This is the second time I've done that, but not in a while, so it was definitely needing it. It was coming out to where it wouldn't be long till I couldn't get through the path. So I think it looks better. It looks a little scalped right now, but it won't take it long to straighten up and look, I think, much better than it did. At least it has a chance to now. I'm not sure how much more hot weather we'll have, but I feel like we'll probably have some. I think the garden could just keep going like this and love it, and I'm sure this gardener could. I dread that heat already, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful day. I've got to do quite a bit of work, and I had a couple of other days where I got some other things done besides gardening, and just feel a little bit more at peace with myself and the world. 3 days, and this is our third load of debris. But I did trim some of the trees and rose bush or two, and just several things that need it. Once you get started, like I say, you just see so much more than you thought you would have to do. But I'm tired, and I'm going to take a break. I don't know if I'll finish, and I only got halfway across the backyard, so we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 90s, and then the next 2 days up to 100. So, but we did good with our 3-day break. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.